Howdy, gang. It's Chris Angel coming at you with another episode of Marketing for the Rest of Us. And let's dive right in, shall we? Let's dive in. I was watching, we have a Netflix subscription. And some time ago, I don't know if I heard about it or saw it as I was scrolling through Netflix, but there was a documentary called Minimalism. And for some reason, I saw it the other day again, and I thought, that's interesting. I should watch that because I've been meaning to watch it. And I thought, let's watch the documentary called Minimalism. So I was watching that this morning. And I want to make a connection for you here towards the end of this particular episode about marketing and how it relates. But let me set some backstory or some context for minimalism so that you get how I connected it. Isn't it funny, too, how sometimes you can read something, watch something that is completely unrelated to some of the things that are important to you, and then you just see a connection. You're like, I didn't make that connection before. So minimalism, it's funny because, and they had so many clips in this documentary of like Black Friday where everybody's storming through a door to try to like grab and snatch stuff, toys or whatever it is, TVs, where they're knocking things down and climbing over each other. And you saw just this crazy pandemonium, like you must be out of your mind. First of all, I don't like Black Friday. I think I like to avoid crowds. But what would drive somebody to go stand in line on Black Friday and climb over people and fight with people for stuff, right? It's just bizarre. It's really bizarre. And yet, clearly people do it. It's absurd. Because they get a big discount on something? Like that's like you'd have to have. There's no discount that could have me go do that, I think, unless it was something I really wanted, maybe. But it was weird, right? Because you had this juxtaposition in the documentary of people who are really wanting something, like wanting stuff, and the identity they get from having stuff, or the story they're living in for the stuff, right? In other words, you must be living in some kind of a story where stuff means something important enough to you that you are willing to do crazy things to get stuff, right? And then there's this other group of people who who have been there, they've done that, and they're like, I'm unhappy inside of that. I'm unhappy inside of the game called let's go acquire more stuff. People to the point of where stories in the documentary where people had jobs in order to make enough money to get stuff, right? And it's a pretty simple storyline, right? So there was this smaller group of people that the documentary was about, where they're like, look, I'm trying something new. I'm trying to live my life not in the accumulation of things, not that things in themselves are bad, but that when you lose your identity because of stuff, you've missed the point. And what if we could create more attachment to the meaning of the few things we have than trying to attach meaning to the acquiring of stuff that we actually don't care about, right? So that becomes the real game that we're playing here is how do we attach meaning to less stuff and the game of acquiring stuff? That is minimalism, right? So let's connect this. I think that's good enough context now. Let's connect this to marketing. I started to see and maybe it's on the heels of creating this show, Marketing for the Rest of Us, where I'm like, unpacking and diving into the nuance of like what is the state of things in marketing for entrepreneurs as it relates to marketing. And what's funny is as I was watching the documentary, I could see like there are so many entrepreneurs and business people who are trying to climb over each other to be heard, right? Like there is a like you feel the pressure of having to have all the marketing stuff. I've got to have landing pages, and I've got to have podcasts, and I've got to have Facebook posts, and I'm supposed to do 5 to 7 Facebook posts a day, and I'm supposed to have a blog post, and there's this acquiring of stuff in the space of marketing that we attach identity to because if I have 5 to 7 posts a day, and I have my blog, and I've got my podcast, and I have all these things, then that means something about me, or at least that's the story I've been sold, right? Just like the story of, if I can acquire a lot of things, that must mean something status-wise about who I am. Minimalists look at that differently, right? Like minimalists don't attach value to the acquiring of things or the amount of things. Minimalists attach meaning to the very few things they have. And I think as a result, here's what's exciting about that for me is that inside of being okay with a few things and attaching great meaning to the few things you have, you actually then don't have to worry about all the other stuff because you don't have stuff to worry about, right? Like that's a minimalist perspective. If I don't have a huge house with a lot of material possessions, then I don't have to take care of all of these things and I don't have to worry about them. So it leaves me present in the moment with the few things I have, to be grateful for the few things I have, and then to see what shows up in my life. Similarly, in marketing, if you're not attached to all the different tools that are being sold to you, all the different things that you feel like you have to acquire in your marketing arsenal or your marketing library, then you would actually be available to be, you would be present to the few things you do in marketing and the meaning that those few things actually have, not just for you because they're a self-expression for you. They mean what you have to share means something to you, but that you would be glad and happy and present to the fact that you're sharing something meaningful with others. And it's not about how much you share. It's about how important and meaningful the very few things you share are. That, gang, is, I think, minimalism in marketing. If you could just free yourself from the cultural agreements that we have to do a lot of stuff in marketing to be happy or to be successful, you would find that there is more enjoyment in the process of marketing, because you would see that marketing is simply a self-expression for what life has taught you, and you're trying to pass that on to others. And you wouldn't be so carried away with all the stuff, right? You wouldn't feel like you're missing out. I think one of the deals about Black Friday is like FOMO, right? Fear of missing out, fear of missing out. And I think when you have fear of missing out, you do all sorts of things because you think that's what people are asking you to do or what's required to be successful. And it's not. It's not. Look, inside our marketing agency, what we do is we actually interview you and pull out of you the very important things you have to say to the world. We don't, I would say you could do a daily show like this. I think there's a place for doing a daily show like I'm doing with this show. But I think you could have simply a weekly show where for 20 minutes a week, you share something meaningful and we draw out of you something meaningful that life has taught you that you really want to share. Like, I think most business people want to help people. Yes? We want to help them. We don't want to bother them. We don't want to interrupt them. We want to inspire them and help them. Most entrepreneurs I talk to feel that way. And yet when it comes to marketing, we feel like we have to live this other life. We have to be some other way than that. But what if your 20 minutes a week actually said something meaningful to people and it actually made a difference? Isn't that the point? It's not how many likes you get and shares you get and comments you get. It's that you made a difference with someone. That is the difference. I think where it starts to get convoluted is like we need income. We need income to sustain the difference we want to make. But that is a separate issue. This is where I think when we collapse marketing with the desire for income, right, or the need for some of us, the need for income, then we start to look we start to get frantic about like, oh my God, I need more stuff because I need more income. And now we're back into a hoarding mindset or an accumulation mindset about marketing tactics and strategies. But your happiness isn't in that. There's no happiness in that. The happiness comes from knowing that your message and what life has taught you has been received by somebody, gladly, gratefully received by somebody, and that you made a difference. So here's my invitation, right, in your marketing, is to begin to pare down all that you feel like you have to do in marketing and start to find the vital few things in marketing that actually contribute to humanity. Marketing is simply a delivery mechanism to contribute to humanity, right? The fruit of which, if people really connect with you, they might choose to buy from you. That's the fruit of that, right? That's the financial fruit. There's other fruit in that you've inspired somebody, you've made a difference for people. But start to pare down all the things you think you're supposed to do to find the vital few things that actually make a difference in your marketing. That, my friends, is minimalism in marketing, right? Minimalism in marketing. And I think what you'll find is that we'll have, the more of us that adopt that perspective, the more we will be able to, first of all, have happier lives for ourselves, but also be happy in the service that we do. So there it is. If you guys want to learn more about how we help people do minimalistic marketing, right, where we capture the brilliant things you have to say and then repurpose it in lots of platforms for people to find, right? Like we can capture something once and share it out into the world in many ways without you having to be inundated with, an overload or a hoarding of marketing tactics, right? If you want to learn more about that, you can go to mygroundswell.com and see what we do there. But until then, gang, just start to pare down what it is that you're doing and find the vital few things that actually make a difference for you and others. Thanks for hanging out with me today. We'll see you tomorrow for another episode of Marketing for the Rest of Us. Until then, take care.